Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Friday here on The Story, and tonight, a loophole in Washington state sanctuary laws fueling detentions and deportations, the state agency that can help ICE, and how it works. Plus, the Multnomah County Director of Preschool for All resigns after a state audit finds wasteful spending in a different preschool program that she's tied to. But first, the city of Portland has been trying really hard to get people to come back downtown through things like events and festivals. But some local businesses tell us protests and demonstrations are helping too. It's our big story tonight.
Yeah, well, I just announced that there's going to be the August 2nd protest on Saturday, and I got back, we have a group chat, and I got back a lot of yays and little celebration things, so people are really excited.
Now, that's not something we normally hear from businesses when a big protest is coming their way. But the community manager at the Midtown Beer Garden, a food cart pod on Southwest 5th, says the owners of the food carts are actually thrilled to hear protesters will be downtown this weekend. The city of Portland has tried a lot of things to get people to come back downtown since the pandemic pretty much emptied it out, both when office workers started working from home and the destructive protests that went on for months. This summer has seen big crowds at the Grand Floral Parade and other Rose Festival events. But there have been some events the city has not planned on that have managed to bring out tens of thousands of people. Those are anti-President Trump protests. This one in June, the No Kings protest, had people packed in the waterfront park, filling the sidewalks, and even crowding onto bridges. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson estimated 50,000 people came out. When it was done, turns out, many stayed downtown to hang out and grab a bite. Here's Lonnie Colley from the Midtown Beer Garden.
It was amazing. We actually weren't quite prepared for it, but now that we're going on our third protest on August 2nd, we're ready. So what we discovered was that people will gather downtown by the thousands, and they will sit at our community tables, they will order food, and we need to order more food.
Well, Colley says earlier this year, she met with city leaders and Portland police to make a safety plan for the food cart pod ahead of the planned April protests. It included the possibility of shutting the gates, evacuating people if things got unruly, but she says they haven't needed that safety plan as protests have stayed largely peaceful.
So everybody gets hungry and everybody gets thirsty, and we're open and we have 500 seats here. And so what we saw after the first protest was just people sitting at all of our community tables, introducing themselves to each other, sharing their signs and their information, and sort of building community here. And what we had was all kinds of food carts who just sort of sold out that day and weren't able to continue to do business. So by the time the No Kings protest came around the next time, we were ready. Folks had extra food. They didn't have to close and go get food and reopen, which is what happened before. And we're getting ready again on August 2nd to do the same kind of thing. So it's a banner day for people who own food carts.
Okay, so we wanted to see if other businesses were experiencing the same thing. So we went around the corner to Kel's Irish Pub, just about 2 blocks away. And the owner there says, yep, the protesters have been great for them too.
It's been wonderful for us, actually. We've got a nice bunch of people down here. Our biggest concern downtown is actually the poor people that are still on the street. It's more of an impact to us than the larger crowds that are coming down to protest. And it's the First Right Amendment, which is great. People are out in full force and speaking their mind. And a lot of them, feel bad at not being here for the last 4 years in downtown. And so it's been great for us for business.
Both say they had customers coming out for the protests who had not been downtown in years.
Oh yes, it's quite frequent. Oh, we haven't been here for years. We haven't been downtown because, blah, 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 the usual story. And it's been great getting people downtown to see how clean it is. It's really picked up in the last 6 months, how clean it is, and they're helping these poor unfortunate people that are still on the street.
Yeah, you definitely had lots of conversations with folks who are here who haven't been back to the city in years, people who aren't comfortable going into the city, people who didn't know this existed, people who are just really thrilled to see this sort of oasis in our city.
But it's important to note, not everyone feels the same way about the protests. We checked in with Powell's Books. They say they've been seeing a noticeable dip in business on protest days, writing to us, For the more recent protests, our sales were down between 10 to 20% compared to a typical day. On protest days, we tend to see fewer casual visitors, as most people attending protests don't always stop to shop, and those who might normally come downtown often steer clear due to crowds, road closures, or safety concerns. Now, further down the South Waterfront, protests against immigration and customs enforcement have been difficult for people living and working nearby. A woman who lives near the South Portland ICE facility and the near nightly protests is suing the city over all the noise from sirens and bullhorns. And we've also heard from plenty of you saying you don't want to see protesters downtown, especially after the months of riots back in 2020. A viewer named Harry wrote to us last month saying 5 years ago, watching the protesters' riots destroy downtown Portland and all the senseless damage to public and private property, the city officials allowed the destruction to go on for months and only a few were ever prosecuted. I, for one, am pissed off. Just can't stand to hear that any of the protesting is legal. The owner of Kells says he thinks things have changed over the past 5 years, and he doesn't mind seeing protesters come out.
You know, I grew up in Belfast in the north of Ireland, and so I was sort of used to this growing up. And I mean, that's real protest, but there was just an element of some people that were protesting that weren't really protests. They were just in for to damage property and loot and stuff, and that's everywhere. But I think the police have got a better handle on it right now than they've had in the past, and it's been very positive.
So those we talked with say the number one thing downtown Portland needs right now is for people to come out, whether it's protesting or for some other reason.
So there are lots of organizations and lots of cool things happening downtown. And if you're paying attention, you'll know that it's becoming more and more fun every year. More and more people are down here. We're seeing more regular folks on the streets. And we still have like a giant vacancy rate of commercial buildings. But there's a lot of cool like festivals and things happening right now. And we're looking forward to a whole other year of that. And I think the protests are only going to help us bring people back to the city and have them feel not as uncomfortable coming and give them places that they want to come back and check out when it's not protest time.
All right, talk to us. What do you think about mass protests in downtown Portland? Do you think they can be part of the city's recovery? Email us, thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. And while we're talking about the city of Portland, Mayor Keith Wilson now bowing to pressure from the Trump administration when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI policies. The mayor issued this executive order Thursday, ensuring that city programs and policies cannot give preference to groups with protected class status based on things like race or gender. The city's legal team says Portland must adjust 75 programs and policies. While the mayor says the decision was challenging, he cited $349 million in active federal grants and $31 million in new federal agreements that would be at risk if the city kept things as is. Portland City Council President Ilana Purtle-Guinea writing in part, "I want to ensure our community partners continue to receive funding for critical programs, while also continuing to make policies guided by our community's values. The mayor's order allows us to do both." But today, City Councilor Loretta Smith blasted the order, writing, "This underwhelming executive order does little to advance Portland's commitment to the Civil Rights Act. Mayor Wilson must adopt stronger language and clarify existing code to oppose the Trump administration, including potential funding cuts to the city of Portland." She went on, "Legal action should be our primary tool to effectively resist President Trump's misguided executive orders targeting our employees and programs that are already meeting the Civil Rights Act guidelines." And while the mayor appears to have passed on pursuing that avenue, it's exactly what city leaders in Seattle are doing. Yesterday, they announced a lawsuit against the Trump administration over his executive orders targeting DEI, risking at least $370 million in federal funding. The Seattle city attorney says their legal argument rests on the Civil Rights Act of 1964, claiming the federal government is unlawfully coercing cities to change policy by tying essential funding to unrelated political conditions. Here's how Seattle's mayor ended a press conference about this yesterday.
Fight is on, and this is where we show who we are.
Well, turning now to an update on some of the preschool drama unfolding this summer. Yesterday, the director of Multnomah County's Preschool for All program resigned, effective immediately. That's the program offering free preschool for 3- and 4-year-olds across the county. Leslie Barnes held the job since spring of 2021 and as of this year was making over $160,000 annually. So, why the sudden resignation? Well, it's related to an audit that we told you about last week, which looked at wasteful spending of state dollars under a statewide preschool program, different from the county program. The connection between that audit and Leslie Barnes was uncovered by Willamette Week in a story that we think is worth your time. Okay, so the headline sums it up. Preschool for All's director owns a provider that collected over $800,000 from the state to serve just 9 children. Through public records, Willamette Week was able to match up figures from the audit to uncover the anonymous preschools that took funding for dozens of preschool slots when they only filled a few. And yes, one of them, Village Child Care Enterprises in North Portland, is owned by Leslie Barnes, according to state records. And while she told Willamette Week that her family operates the preschool, even the appearance of a conflict of interest or wasting of tax dollars for that matter was enough to call her credibility into question. So out she goes. Willamette Week reports that an education watchdog in Beaverton with the group Save Oregon Schools was the one who tipped off the state to wasteful spending in the Preschool Promise program, which is entirely separate from Multnomah County's Preschool for All. An interim director is in place for the county program for the time being, and we'll keep you posted on any new developments. But if you'd like to learn more about this, check out Willamette Week's initial article and their follow-up on Barnes's resignation. You can find them both on their website, wweek.com. Well, coming up next on the story, there is a little-known loophole in the sanctuary state laws in the state of Washington. Turns out, the State Department of Corrections is allowed to help ICE, fueling immigration detention and deportation. We'll show you how the system works and what the DOC says about it. That's when the story returns. The immigration sanctuary status of the Northwest states is well documented. Oregon and Washington state don't want local authorities helping federal immigration officials. But in Washington, there's a little known loophole that continues to funnel people from prison into ICE custody. The state's Department of Corrections is allowed to assist ICE. Sharon Yu explains how it works.
Prayers kicked off a rally outside of the Northwest ICE Processing Center in Tacoma mid-July. Tek Kimless's family hopes he hears the blessings from inside where he's locked up. Kimless finished serving his 15-year prison sentence for assault. His family was making plans for his release when ICE put him behind bars again.
We were anticipating his release. We were all getting ready for that until this happened, and we were pretty devastated.
Kimless is a Cambodian refugee born in a Thai refugee camp. He's also an Army veteran and a green card holder. The day DOC set him free in May, ICE took him.
People make mistakes. He made a grave mistake, which is why he served 15 years in prison. Because once you've served your time, that's it. You're done. Like with that, you don't continue to be punished for those kinds of things.
The Keep Washington Working Act bars local law enforcement from helping ICE deport people. But the Department of Corrections is an exception. Lawmakers made that distinction in 2019 to make sure the law would pass. DOC spokesperson Chris Wright says they flagged the immigration status of inmates during intake and can place ICE detainers on them.
It's a heated debate across the country in both sides, but I know a lot of the public probably wouldn't be very comfortable with people who've committed murder, rape, and other terrible crimes just being and are undocumented being released just back onto the streets.
ICE decides who to detain when sentences end. This year, of the 61 inmates with ICE detainers who have been released, ICE picked up 51. This matches the pace of 2023 and 2024.
You know, I made a lot of poor choices.
Mani Uch, also a Cambodian refugee like Tek Kimless, had a green card when he was convicted of driving a getaway car in a robbery in 1994.
Yeah, I just pled guilty.
Uch served 3 years in prison. When he was set to get out in 1997, because ICE detainers aren't just for the undocumented, Uch landed in immigration custody for 2.5 more years. Deportation was off the table as Cambodia refused deportees at the time. Uch stayed in the U.S.
Do you think you were punished twice because you were an immigrant?
Yes, at the same time, yes, and we were being punished twice, and you know, it's also cruel and unusual punishment for the fact that you know, we couldn't be deported, and there was no way that we can get out.
Uch was released in 2001 and pardoned in 2010 by then-Governor Christine Gregoire for showing long-term rehabilitation. He became a U.S. citizen in 2021. Now he fights for others trapped in the same system. To be clear, the Northwest ICE Processing Center here in Tacoma is not a jail or a prison. It's what they call civil detention. But those who have been incarcerated in both a prison and over here say they would rather be in prison.
You know when you're going to get out of prison, right? Then when you step into immigration custody, that is out the window. The immigration system is not set up for rehabilitation at all. It's just a concentration camp.
Are we ready to fight to free them all?
Back at the rally, Tek Kimless's family is dreading the worst outcome, deportation to a third country. In June, the Supreme Court ruled ICE can deport people to any country willing to take them, even when they don't have any ties to it. So the prayers keep coming. For these families, it's more than a ritual. It's a plea to be heard for redemption.
These are people's lives that we're talking about.
Not removal.
I have a problem with that, and I hope you do too.
Well, Tek Kimless's next hearing date is set for August 25th. His family hopes his veteran status will bring some kind of extra meaning to his immigration case. We're back right after this. Well, it is that time of year again. The KGW School Supply Drive is going on now. One of the best ways you can help is to give online. Just go to kgw.com/school and click Donate Cash. When you give online, you'll receive a Columbia Sportswear Employee Store Pass. We want to thank On Point Community Credit Union, Safeway, and Rick's Custom Fencing for everything they're doing to make this year's supply drive a success. Well, to Central Oregon now, where a tribal radio station is fighting to survive after losing nearly half its funding. The reason? Cuts from the Trump administration. KWSO is the voice of Warm Springs, and for that community, there's a lot at stake. Here's Evan Watson.
KWSO HD1, Warm Springs.
This is KWSO News. I'm Samayakan Allen.
The Oregon Fish and Wildlife Commission is revisiting a 2023 agreement with the Grand Ronde Tribe concerning hunting and fishing rights across Northwest Oregon.
Broadcasting from a hill high on the Warm Springs Reservation in Central Oregon, home to 3 confederated tribes.
We're a small station in a small place, a little off the beaten path.
The KWSO radio station airs free music and news every hour, every day.
We do our own local newscasts, and we can cover Warm Springs better than anybody.
Local reporters share what's happening in a community that can feel isolated.
That's who's doing recording language lessons. That's who's doing interviews with elders. In rural Oregon, and probably rural America, mainstream media doesn't necessarily show up unless something very bad has happened.
Sue Matters is the station manager.
We operate on about $600,000 a year is our full budget. And so, 40% of that would be CPB.
40% of the station's budget that's now gone. Congress voted to approve President Trump's request to claw back more than $1 billion for public broadcasting across the country. Money that helped fund stations like KWSO.
I don't think people hate public radio at all. And certainly we don't even hardly sound like public radio. It's the national political narrative.
The federal cuts threaten the jobs of 2 of the 6 KWSO employees. Matters says she's determined to save them, but the station will have to sacrifice.
We're going to have to move forward, and tribal people are kind of used to having to do that. Have you done the KWSO online survey yet?
On Thursdays at the Warm Springs Pavilion.
We've got some radishes, some carrots, some beets, and some fresh lettuce. It's free to take.
A community market offers the traditional and the unexpected.
We have some the single rifle cases, and then we have a double one.
This week, free gun safes, part of a violence prevention campaign.
So the safety is a big thing, especially for our Native people on our lands.
And the community radio station is there too.
Thank you.
Paige Hurtado works for a clean drinking water project in Warm Springs. He just ran a survey.
One of those questions was, how does the majority of people get their news sources? And the most popular answer was actually our local radio station. It's more than just like music, right? Like it's all of this like news and information in real time. And you start to take that away, then our community is going to continue to be crippled, disjointed, and lack access.
Caroline Cruz, a tribal leader, says the station has the community's trust.
We had the 2 major fires going on just this past weekend. We know if we tune in to KWSO, they're going to have the most up-to-date information.
For some, it's personal.
Because the local news, for one thing, it's home. They interviewed my dad a long time ago. So every once in a while on Veterans Day, I get to hear his voice. It means a lot.
Tribes, which include Warm Springs, Yakima Nation.
Without federal funding, Matters is determined to keep KWSO on the air.
100% we are going to continue to operate. It's just at what level.
She'll have to make cuts, and she expects to lose access to national news and tribal networks.
Native America Calling in National Native News, and those are programs that people here love and tune in for like every day at 10 o'clock.
Leaving the high desert at risk of becoming a news desert.
There'll be like a void where probably incorrect information will grow.
She says for the tribal-owned station, the challenge feels familiar.
It's like nothing new for Indian country. I mean, Indian country is usually the last people to get things from the federal government.
A fight for a radio station known as much for providing community updates.
Like when they do the news, it's our friend telling us the news.
As providing community tables at the Thursday market.
That's not going to stop us. I mean, as Indian people, we are very resilient. I mean, we just survive, we go on.
Evan Watson, KGW News.
Well, that is the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. Have a great weekend. I'll see you right back here Monday night at 6:30.